of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment? I would like to say I'd like to limit the public comment to 3 minutes total if there is any, but is there any public comment? None?
A question.
Okay.
What is the special meeting for? I just heard about it this afternoon.
It was announced at the last town council meeting.
I didn't
that
stay for the whole end. I'm
There was,
sorry.
but it was announced at the town council meeting, I think, on old business, new business,
Yeah, posted since Friday.
yeah. Okay. All right, I guess we have 2 items on the agenda, both under new business. The first is the second reading of ordinance number 848, approving up to a 1-year moratorium on medical marijuana dispensaries. So, do I need a motion to do that, or just go ahead and read it?
You did that last week, so you're in the second reading.
Okay. Okay, this is the second reading of ordinance number 848, an ordinance establishing a moratorium on the location of medical marijuana facilities within the town of Lakeview pursuant to the provisions of Section 3 of Senate Bill 1531, parentheses 2014, and declaring an emergency. Whereas the Oregon Legislature enacted House Bill 3460, parentheses 2013, which requires the Oregon Health Authority to develop and implement a process to register medical marijuana facilities. Whereas House Bill 3460, parentheses 2013, directed that persons who operate or who are employed by a registered medical marijuana facility would enjoy immunity from state prosecution. Whereas the issue of whether a local government believes a certain type of business should operate within its jurisdictional limits is a local government decision, the enforcement of which is subject to the general and police powers of that jurisdiction. Whereas the Oregon Legislature enacted Senate Bill 1531, parentheses 2014, which removes immunity from state prosecution for a person who is responsible for or employed by a registered medical marijuana facility located in an area subject to the jurisdiction of the city or county that enacts a moratorium prohibiting the operation of a medical marijuana facility. And whereas the town council believes it is in the best interests of health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the town of Lakeview to enact such a moratorium temporarily prohibiting the operation of a medical marijuana facilities within the jurisdictional boundaries of the town of Lakeview. Now therefore, the council of the town of Lakeview ordains as follows. Section 1, moratorium declared. The town of Lakeview hereby temporarily prohibits the operation of any medical marijuana facility within the town limits of the town of Lakeview. As used in this section, medical marijuana facility includes any facility that dispenses marijuana pursuant to ORS 475.314 or any other provision of Oregon law. Section 2, duration of the moratorium. The moratorium imposed by this ordinance shall be effective until May 1, 2015, unless sooner rescinded. Section 3, enforcement. The Chief of Police of the town of Lakeview is charged with enforcement of the moratorium imposed by this ordinance. Section 4, remedies not exclusive. The remedies available under Senate Bill 1531, parentheses 2014, for a violation of the moratorium imposed by this ordinance are not exclusive of any other remedies available under any applicable federal, state, or local law. It is within the discretion of the town of Lakeview to seek cumulative remedies for the violation of the moratorium imposed by this ordinance. Section 5, servability. In any if any provision of this ordinance or its application to any person or circumstance is held invalid, such invalidity does not affect other provisions or applications of this ordinance that can be given effect without the individual provision or application, and to this end, the provisions of this ordinance are servable. Section 6, emergency. This ordinance and its purpose being necessary for the immediate preservation of public peace, health, and safety of the citizens of the town of Lakeview, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon its adoption by the town council. This ordinance was adopted by being read fully and distinctly in the open council meetings on the 22nd day of April 2014 and the 29th day of April 2014, and then passed by a vote of the town council as follows. Okay. So that's done. I guess the next thing we need to do is we need a motion.
Motion to adopt the ordinances as read.
Okay.
I move that we adopt ordinance 848 as read.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 8, adopt ordinance 848 as just read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Pardon?
I'm opposed.
So passed by the vote of the town council as follows. That would be 3 in favor, 1 opposed. There is a quorum present, so adopted this 29th day of April 2014.
Very good.
Okay.
Mayor, if I might make a comment in regards to what we've just done in order that we might move forward in a fast way. Maybe we could perhaps declare an emergency exists for those who now we don't offer anything for, and that's medicinal marijuana in our community, or an opportunity for that. And perhaps we could move forward by taking care of John's concerns. And I guess right now Sharon's the only counselor that is outside of the boundaries of the school protection zones, the 1,000 feet for many of the school zones. I think Sandy, you and I and Michael all live within that zone. But to take care of John's concerns in regards to downtown, perhaps we should impose immediately to protect the youth of our community a 1,000 foot circumference around our community parks, being the swimming pool park, McDonald Park, and the Lakeview Little League Park. I think that would take care of our problems in what is seeming to be the big push.
I think also you have to add the kiddie pool park, the children's.
That's McDonald Park.
Is that McDonald? I've
So
never heard of it.
I think that would
I guess
cover
it is. We
I think
just
that
did
covers
the
everyone's
Sunshine Center.
comments that we've heard so far from all of our members of the public. John was a little late in his comments last week, but in our public hearing, we heard neighborhoods. We didn't want them in those. I think that would take care of it, and it would be one split. How fast could we do something like that, John?
Well, I don't disagree with Mike. We enacted this moratorium, and as I said a number of times, personally, I don't see it taking a year. And my philosophy on the moratorium wasn't to impose the moratorium just to buy a year. My thrust in imposing the moratorium was to give us time to thoughtfully create some restrictions as to what we felt might be appropriate for a medical marijuana dispensary in the town. Now, to specifically answer your question, I would think 2 one-hour work sessions with the council, receiving the council's input, we should be able to put together some restrictions that we agree on and implement them in an ordinance, and as part of the implementation of that ordinance, rescind the moratorium. But my thoughts are a couple of hours.
Okay. But, I mean, do we schedule some work sessions tonight? Can we do that? It's not an agenda item, I guess, but it does say decision regarding ordinance number 848.
And we didn't have discussion before we voted, so I thought I would throw it in afterwards.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree with Mike and John, I think we should set that up and do it, within a very reasonable period of time. I don't think we obviously can't do it right now because it isn't on the agenda to make any more decisions today, but
Mr.
I
Stitt?
think we need to all think about what kind of restrictions
I
we want,
would too.
other than the 1,000 feet, et cetera.
Well, I'm just basing it on what we heard from the public.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
I
basing it on, is our
I know, but
constituents and their
I think
comments.
that, other
I think that's.
cities and towns have passed some
No, other cities,
regulations.
but those weren't there. I mean, those are cities of other concerns and.
That's
you know,
right, but it's
we have
always
our own.
nice to have some idea of what other people have done also, before we make
Did
any
everybody get
major
this letter
decisions.
from Teresa Berry and her questions?
Yes.
Right, they
I
were
thought
all
there
in
were
our
some
packets.
Well,
at the
there's some
meeting that
good
you-
ones in there, but some of them are already answered.
Well, yeah,
So-
some of them are, but I thought that there was enough, and I really appreciate the inspecting the premises and how do we afford that and some things like that, because it says the chief of police, but,
Well,
he's got a lot of
Well,
money.
he's
So I-
enforcing the moratorium.
These
Yeah,
things that are in
enforcing
this
that.
letter, I did follow your suggestion, Mike. I went online, read the information that you had suggested that I take the time to do that. I
Pretty
did so.
Pretty soon.
And I agree with it. The point of this isn't just to stall things, it is to
No,
make some
just to
good
be
decisions.
wise.
I believe that, I truthfully, and it sounds like I'm stalling, but I'm not, but we start the budget tonight, and so 1 week's town council, the next week's the budget until we're through the budget process. I don't see a problem holding off till the budget is completed and then start our work sessions on it, but I go with the favor of the council,
Well, that's a
whatever.
few month period. It's 2 months budget process, 2 months period. Is that what?
No, it should
For
take,
we should,
Or to be
Month and a half.
completed.
there is the adoption by the council that happens
Those are
in
big.
June,
but
but
I
the
just
budget
mean
committee
the
will
work
meet
of it.
tonight
I'd like to
and
see
next
us move forward faster than that, but.
Yeah, okay.
Well, there's always a possibility to do what we're doing right now, instead of having a 3:30 meeting before a budget, we could have a 3 o'clock meeting too. And we could
I'd like
get that
to put
because that-
pretty much
I
an
just,
hour work
I like
session
the
to
time to
work on
make a
that.
wise decision,
I
that's
think
what I
everybody
like.
should have a copy of the law already in effect concerning dispensaries for step number 1, because there is a lot of things in there that we won't need to decide because the state law decides.
Well, do we as a council want to set up a work session for our next regular meeting?
you already have a work session scheduled for your May 13th meeting, which is with DEQ and air quality.
Oh, that's right.
And the PM advance plan and some of that. So you have an hour set aside here. I'm not suggesting that you can't have another discussion, maybe a half-hour discussion of this and the PM advance program. I'm not sure how much time.
I think if it meets with favor of the council, I'd rather schedule a work session at the meeting following that with an hour work session and devote it to this.
Is that like, what?
Would that work?
What I was gonna comment on earlier, you're just thinking about different aspects of this, I have seen, through emails that there's some communities, and I can't tell you how many, but there has been some discussion of areas of the state that are looking at addressing this issue through their planning commission, creating, most people's planning zoning ordinances don't address dispensaries, period. They're just not there. And actually creating a place in there, in the zoning ordinance, in the appropriate zone. It's obviously, according to state law, got to be in a commercial zone, but, the planning
No,
commission.
there's 3 other zones: mixed use, agriculture, and industrial.
Oh, okay, but.
So you've got a lot of platforms to cover if you're gonna turn it over to planning and zoning.
Agriculture, we don't have in town, so that one's out of the question. But anyway, I don't, that is happening in some other places. It just, you guys are going to direct how this goes, this information.
So I think it all boils down to, we've got a lot to discuss in this, so, again, if the council agrees, we'll schedule a work session not at our next meeting, but at our
27th.
second meeting in May 27th, okay? Do that?
We'll do that.
Okay.
And do you have copies of the entire law?
I ran off a copy myself.
Could we get those?
If Sandy will that stuff, anything you think you need, whatever, let us know.
And-
We-
Bring it to us, we'll copy it.
Yeah, you probably have it.
Yeah, I got a whole file full of it. So, I'm gonna guide you on the process, but, you're the ones that are gonna establish the rules and regs.
Okay.
And I think that for the people who are concerned about this ordinance, that section 2 where it says unless sooner rescinded, and that's what you're looking at, is that we make these decisions in a timely manner. It doesn't have to last until May 1 of 2015. It can be rescinded earlier when all those things are in place.
Yes.
Christie, where's the original ordinance? Did Mike sign it?
Not yet.
Okay, we didn't sign it, I want to take a copy before we go.
There being no further business before the council, I will adjourn at 3:46. That's all right. Thank you.
It's voted.